The United States Constitution stands as a beacon of liberty, a testament to the revolutionary idea that power resides not in the government, but in the people. At the heart of this revolutionary document lies the concept of individual rights, the unalienable freedoms that define us as Americans. These rights are not granted by any government. They are inherent, woven into the very fabric of our being. The Founding Fathers, veterans of a hard-fought revolution against tyranny, understood that true freedom hinges on the recognition and protection of individual liberty. They knew that governments are instituted among men to secure these rights, not to infringe upon them. This fundamental principle, enshrined in the Bill of Rights, has served as the cornerstone of American exceptionalism for over 2 centuries. To suggest that these rights are somehow collective, that they exist only in the context of a group, is to fundamentally misunderstand the principles upon which this nation was founded. Our Founding Fathers, steeped in the wisdom of Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke, recognized that certain truths are self-evident. Among these truths is the inherent dignity and worth of every individual, endowed upon us by our Creator. This inherent worth is not bestowed by any government. It is an unalienable right possessed by each of us from the moment we are born. These rights, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, are fundamental and immutable. The Declaration of Independence proclaims that all men are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights. This truth serves as the bedrock of American freedom. The Second Amendment stands as a reminder of the Founding Fathers' intent to safeguard individual liberty from government overreach. The right to keep and bear arms is an individual right, possessed by each law-abiding citizen. A well-armed citizenry serves as the ultimate check against tyranny. This right pre-exists the government, serving as a bulwark against tyranny. The amendment states that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It is a right that must be jealously guarded to protect our freedoms. The absurdity of collective rights becomes glaringly apparent when we apply this flawed logic to other fundamental freedoms. Imagine for a moment a world where the First Amendment's guarantee of free speech applied only to collectives, not individuals. In this dystopian scenario, the government could dictate which groups have the right to assemble, which organizations are permitted to speak freely, and which ideas are deemed acceptable for public discourse. Individuals would be stripped of their right to speak their minds, to express dissenting views, or to challenge the status quo. Similarly, imagine a world where the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable searches and seizures applied only to collectives. The government could arbitrarily search the homes and belongings of individuals so long as they could claim it was necessary for the collective good. Privacy would become a relic of the past, replaced by constant surveillance and the ever-present threat of government intrusion. The very notion of collective rights is anathema to the principles of individual liberty upon which this nation was founded. It is a dangerous and slippery slope that leads inevitably to tyranny and oppression. Our rights are not granted by the government. They are inherent, God-given, and inviolable. The Founding Fathers, visionaries who dared to dream of a nation founded on the principles of individual liberty, understood the inherent dangers of collective rights. They knew that true freedom resides not in the hands of the state, but in the hearts and minds of individuals. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, famously wrote, "The God who gave us life gave us liberty at the same time." This profound statement encapsulates the very essence of the American experiment, that our rights are not granted by any earthly power, but are inherent to our very existence. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, echoed this sentiment, writing, "The rights of conscience we never submitted, we could not submit." These rights, enshrined in the First Amendment, are not subject to the whims of the majority or the dictates of the state. They are fundamental, unalienable, and inviolable. The Founding Fathers envisioned a nation where individuals are free to live their lives, pursue their dreams, and worship as they see fit, without undue interference from the government. They understood that a government that is powerful enough to grant rights is also powerful enough to take them away. The freedoms we enjoy today as Americans were not won easily. They were hard fought and hard won, secured through the blood, sweat, and sacrifice of generations who came before us. From the battlefields of the American Revolution to the civil rights marches of the 20th century, countless patriots have fought to preserve and protect our individual liberties. These rights are not mere words on parchment. They are the very essence of what it means to be an American. They are the foundation upon which we have built the most prosperous and free nation in human history. To surrender these rights, to allow them to be chipped away in the name of expediency or the so-called greater good, would be a betrayal of our heritage and a disservice to future generations. We must remain vigilant in the face of those who would seek to erode our freedoms, whether through government overreach, judicial activism, or the insidious creep of collectivist ideology. Our rights are not negotiable, nor are they subject to the whims of the majority or the dictates of those in power. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. This timeless adage, often attributed to Thomas Jefferson, serves as a stark reminder that freedom is not free. It must be constantly guarded, defended, and passed down to future generations. We cannot afford to be complacent, for the moment we take our freedoms for granted is the moment we risk losing them. The enemies of liberty are many and varied. They may come in the guise of well-meaning but misguided individuals who believe that the government knows best. They may be power-hungry politicians who seek to expand their control at the expense of our freedoms. Or they may be those who simply do not understand the value of individual liberty and the dangers of collectivism. We must be prepared to stand up and speak out against any and all attempts to infringe upon our rights. We must educate ourselves and others about the principles of liberty enshrined in the Constitution, and we must be willing to fight for our freedoms just as generations before us have done. It is our sacred duty, as inheritors of this great republic, to safeguard the flame of liberty for generations to come. We must reject the siren song of collectivism, the dangerous notion that our rights are somehow contingent upon the will of the majority or the dictates of the state. Our rights are our birthright, endowed upon us by our Creator, not granted by any government. They are the foundation of our freedom, our prosperity, and our very way of life. Let us resolve to defend these rights with the same unwavering conviction and unwavering courage as those who came before us. The future of our nation, the very survival of liberty itself, depends on it. Let us be worthy inheritors of the legacy of freedom bequeathed to us by the Founding Fathers. Let us stand united as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Keep your head down and your powder dry.